Aboro, Aboye, Abosheshe, and Ekabo, and welcome everyone to the Ifa Orisa discussions. My name is Ifa Bemero Adifonso Orisha Bemi. That is my traditional name. The government's name is Fahim Ali Bey. That's how I'm commonly known, and that's what I signed to on all my documents. So I would open today's program by reciting an oriki and also acknowledging a couple of elders of the community who have within recent time transitioned. Ope Nifu Olorun, Oludumare Oba Ajiki, Mojiloni, Mowogun Meriaye, Iba Ila Orun, Iba Ila, Iba Iwo Orun, Iba Riwa, Iba Gusu, Iba Oba Igba Aye, Iba Orun Oke, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo Orun, Ibashe Igungun Kiki Igungun. And I would like to mention here now some of the elders. The first elder I would like to mention is my father, Joseph Albert Simon. And the second one I want to mention is my deceased mother, Elaine John Simon. All right, and I also want to call to memory the Chief Alagba Aaron, or Ifa Tayisi Aaron Fulami, Agba Shangolari, Iya Ifatola Omeleti Oguntusen, Iyalode Shango Wumi, Oshun Fonleo, Ola Kita Iyamode or Jiniki, and also Agba Apesho Motupwe, Kikamashe. Iba Atiwo Orun, Iba Ashe Ori Inu, Ipori Atiwo Orun, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So, welcome again to all the persons who are tuned in. And today, I want to read a little bit from two books of Odu. One is Iwe Fon Odu Ifa, and the other book is Ifism Volume 3. All right. Today is Oshe Shango, Oya, Ibeji, and also Aganju. All right. On the other side, for the Igbos, today would be called Nkwo Day. All right. But basically, the calendars are both the same. The Oshe calendar, as well as the calendar market days used by the Igbos. All right. Today's reading was from ODU Otura. All right. So I'm going to read first from the Ifism Volume 3. All right. This Odu, again, is ODU Otura. When ODU Otura got to the world, he was a successful Ifa priest. Although he was not wealthy enough to buy a horse, he had 6 surrogates who were indentured to him to learn the art and practice of Ifism. After gaining proficiency, they were subsequently ordained as Ifa priests. They soon became very successful and wealthy, but only by manipulating Ifa's mode of practice to their personal advantage. It is easy to become rich in the practice of Ifa if the priest uses his authority to charge exorbitant fees. Orun Miller is never happy with such Ifa priests. That was the setting in which Olofin invited Oyeku Otura and his 6 former surrogates to make divination for him on what to do to return prosperity to his kingdom. The 6 junior Awos dressed gorgeously and rode on horses to the palace. But their benefactor and master came in a modest dress and on foot. At divination, some of the 6 junior Awos recommended sacrifice with cows, plenty of goats, rams, pigs, several bundles of white cloth, and 100 bags of money for prosperity to return to the king's country. While the junior Awos were demonstrating their mode of divination, the more knowledgeable and experienced Oyeku Otura was required to round up the divination. He declared that prosperity had eluded the town because some traditional divinities has not been served for a long time, and so they became incapable of stopping the misfortune from preventing the children of prosperity from visiting the town. He proclaimed that 6 Awos should be tied up at once for sacrifice to the divinities, while he left for the bush to fetch the relevant leaves. As soon as Oyeku Otura left for the bush, Olofin gave the command for the 6 junior Awos to be bound in chains, awaiting sacrifice. When he returned from the bush, Olofin confirmed to him that the 6 Awos has been tied up for the sacrifice. When he asked for his 6 colleagues who were present before he left for the bush, Olofin replied that they were the ones chained up for the sacrifice. Oyeku Otura was astonished as he declared that what he prescribed for the sacrifice was 6 guinea fowls, which happened to translate to Awo in Ifa parlance, although it also means Ifa priests. He quickly ordered their release, that since it was forbidden to bind an Ifa priest in chains, Olofin should give each of them a goat to atone to their Ifa for their shabby treatment. He, however, added that the reason why the 6 Ifa priests underwent the unfortunate, fortuitous treatment was because Orun Miller wanted to punish them for prostituting and bastardizing his ethos and usage. This they have been using Ifism for their own selfish benefit in contravention of the altruistic and magnanimous dogmas stipulated by Orun Miller. He advised them to refrain from their materialistic and extortionate approach to Ifism if they were to live long and to avoid the risk of falling from affluence to penury. The 6 hours were instantly unchained, and they thanked ODU Otura, promising to respect Orunmila's dicta and to offer their morning prayers to Orunmila ardently and religiously. All right, again, this reading came from ODU Otura. All right, I am now going to read now from the book Ewe Fun Uda, Odu Ifa. All right, now what this book has is a very, very simple phrase that encapsulates the essence of the Odu Oyeku Otura, or Oyeku Batuye. It says, this Odu speaks of removing blame and restoring freedom of activities. All right? Which brings me squarely into today's subject. All right? I'm not going to be too long today. I don't have a guest on the show. So I'm just going to talk a little bit on the issue of unity. This is a message that I've been trying to bring for the longest while. And I think the essay Ifa from the book Ewe Fun Odu Ifa sums up an important component in creating unity among people. In conflict resolution, one of the things they teach is that blaming others is counterproductive. Basically, what should be done is people should be always working with each other towards having a solution. Of recent, within the last week or so, I've been privy to an opportunity where I was at a meeting where reconciliation was one of the topics that was being discussed. And I want to encourage for our community that the leaders of the community participate in any future opportunity to create unity and reconciliation for the advancement of the community as a collective. The setting back and the removal of the conflicts and the ego, right, was addressed today in this particular Odu. All right, one of the essay Ifas spoke about the persons who was trained by Orunmila and their abuse and what it resulted in. They could have lost their lives. But this did not occur. Instead, they were encouraged to follow the ethos or the principles that were laid down by Orunmila and to be ethical in their approach and their practice, not putting greed, selfishness, pride, or any of those things ahead of them. All right? So that basically, in a nutshell, is my message. If there is an opportunity for reconciliation where the entire community could benefit, I would encourage all of the leaders to participate wholeheartedly and genuinely, without selfish interest, without ego, and with the intention to allow the entire community to benefit and to move forward. With that, for some of the viewers who have never seen or heard this stream before, because we used to be on some time back, but because, of my travels abroad to take care of some of my personal affairs, I was not able to be streaming. So today, I want to talk a little bit, about my journey with IFA. For those who have access to my page, you can go to my page and you would see today I posted information concerning my initiations from 2018 up until 2022. All right. Most of these initiations were done in the diaspora. All the details are there. So for those who are interested, you can go there and you can look at it. All right. But my introduction to IFA started when I was very young, probably about 15 years old. Right? And I'm not speaking about what was explained to me by my mother. I'm talking about actually meeting a person who practiced the tradition and having an opportunity to speak with them. My very first contact was Akbar Coleman German. He was the neighbor where I grew up. This gentleman was a very strong devotee. I've had many opportunities, many conversations with this Baba. He's very wise, very knowledgeable on many aspects of what we normally would refer to as consciousness. All right? I asked him many difficult questions, and he answered many of them quite capably and quite competently. Right? And there are some that he did not answer. He told me in order to know some of the things I was asking, you have to actually be a member. So I remember him taking the time off whenever I came. He always would answer to the best of his ability, whatever I asked. So he was actually my very first contact. All right. After meeting this Akbar, of course, it increased my level of curiosity. But for many years after that, I didn't venture into actually attending shrines because I went abroad and I lived there for many years where I studied, and I had the opportunity to meet quite a few practitioners abroad. Right? One of the elders that I met, he was into Kemetic science, was Master Cam. He was actually my neighbor in Brooklyn, New York. He lived just across the street from where I lived. He had his dojo and everything. And we would spend quite a bit of time talking whenever we met up, of course. Right? He too was into Kemetic science, but because of his background in the tradition in Trinidad, he did know quite a bit of the Ifa and the Orisa traditions. Right? After these two particular contacts, my very first experience in a shrine is when I attended the shrine in Maturita. That would have been Ile Ijosin Otura Meiji Awano Shun. Right? The person who was in charge, who I met there when I first was invited there by one of the members, was Yeye Araba Agbomola Olo Mututu Odu Oshun Omotaiwo Ogunlade. All right. I also met Olowo Ajogun there also. I met plenty of the members because I spent a bit of time there, right? And maybe close to 2 years. The environment was quite welcoming, quite educational. While I was there, I had an opportunity to meet Araba Osho. I also had an opportunity to meet the Oba, the king of all the Obatala initiates in the world. That is Oba Dada. Right? For the time that he visited Trinidad, I had quite a few conversations with him where I learned quite a bit. I had a few conversations also with Araba Osho, but Araba Osho used to be in Trinidad annually, so I had many opportunities to speak with him. Right? After my experience at Otura Meiji, I then went and started to learn at Ile Shoka, right, which is in Lower Santa Cruz. The individual who was in charge there that I met eventually became my Olowo. That is, I want to use the exact titles and names, so forgive me. And the elders, if you hear me mispronounce your name, please forgive me also, but I'm trying. Right? This would have been Oloye Ogun Renola of Ife, right? Ife Sunu, right? Commonly referred to as Ogumowale. Right? I became a member of that shrine. I spent quite a few years there under this Baba. I had two main teachers there, who was Emosu Olashibika and his wife Ifa Sesi. The Baba there was also my instructor, Olowo Ogumowale. All right. Now, we used to have a lot of classes. My first initiation was done there. We used to have regular studies every Tuesday where we would meet up and we would learn all the basics of Ifa. Right? That eventually led me to doing my hands of Ifa, right? Which most people call Ishefa. After that, I then did Obatala initiations. At that stage, I had the great fortune of meeting Oba E Ala, which is the title for the highest ranking Obatala official in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Oba E Ala of Trinidad, Oloye Ifa Benjo Oriomi Orisha Bemi. All right, and that would have been the Ile Osa Igbo Itapa. Okay, he was my teacher. He's my Olowo also. He provided a great measure of training prior to initiation and teaching. All right, these are some of the various elders that I would have met. Eventually, my Tefa and Shango initiations were done by Awo Falokun, who is in the diaspora one of the most renowned authors and teachers of Ifa. Okay, so this is just to give a little background for those who do not know me, to have an idea of my entry into the community and my involvement in Ifa propagation. All right, the network that you are viewing this stream from is called the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network. That was a network that was created with the vision of providing some measure of comfort for persons who live abroad and were homesick. Right? But because of my interest in Ifa, a lot of the stuff that is posted on the network turns out to be Ifa Orisha information. But the vision for the Grassroots Network is to disseminate information, to educate as well as to entertain most of the common regular people here as well as those who live abroad with all of the grassroots activities and things of that nature. So as a result of that, it is sort of a wide platform that covered things like health, community activities, and that sort of a thing. So I just wanted to share, a little bit about myself and that vision. All right, now, before I close off, right? In terms of the opportunity to unite and to reconciliate some of the differences that may be occurring with various organizations within Trinidad, I want to point out that I also did some work with Oloye Ogumowale a couple of years ago in trying to establish a national organization through the ICIR TT. This organization was able to bring together most of the Ifa shrines throughout Trinidad and Tobago, all right, where approximately 18 plus registered members has joined the organization, and there are still a few more temples in Trinidad, right? So for persons who might be interested in learning about Ifa, I want to run through the list, name a couple of the shrines, and give a couple of the names of the elders who are in charge of the shrine. So should you visit, you would know who's in charge and who you should look for on visiting the location. All right? For the central region, we have approximately 4 registered shrines. The first one on the list is the Kenny Cyrus Omitosin Awareni Shrine. This is located at Kenny Cyrus Street in Enterprise, Chaguanas. Alright? The Omitosin Awareni, I think that is the person who is the head. Alright, so she would be, I think the correct title would be for her, being the leader there would be Iyalode. So it should be Iyalode Omitosin Aworeni. Alright, the other shrine that is listed is the Ijuba Orisa Omalu. Right? And Baba, I'm not familiar with your recent titles there, so please forgive me, just using what was on the record when your shrine was registered. Alright? And the person in charge of Ijuba Orisa Omalu is Baba Aurela Ajiboye Ishuwale Fakayode. Alright, and that shrine is located in Egypt Trace Extension, Enterprise, Chaguanas. Alright, the other shrine listed for Central is the person in charge. I think the name of the shrine is Yami Egbe Ibon. And the person in charge is Are Ogboni Are Egbe Oba T Orisha Lashe Ifalashe Orisha Lashe Igonleti Egbe Pomile. And the location of the shrine Yami Egbe Imo is Warren Monroe Road, Warrenville, Canupia. Alright, and the fourth one for the central area is Ile Iwori Meji Ijuba. And the person in charge of that particular shrine there, or temple, or Ile, is Baba Awotunde Ajigpotifa Elebubon. And the location is Dan Road, Savory Road, Las Lomas, number 1. So for persons in the area who wants to visit, that is the location. For the Northeast Trinidad, we have the Blanchishes Ifa Tradition Group. And the person in charge there is Awo Okikiola Adeyemi Ifakunle. And the group is located in William Trace and Paria Main Road, Blanchishes. So for persons in that area who are interested, you could probably reach out and you could probably find out when they have regular meetings and attend. The other one for the Northeast region is the Ifa Orisa School of Enlightenment, which is all, yes, which is connected to the shrine at Ile Ishoka. And the person who's in charge there is Oloye Ogunrenola of Ife, Ifa Sunu, otherwise known as Lester Ogumwale. The location of this shrine is number 8 Nile Trace, Febo Village, San Juan, or Lower Santa Cruz, San Juan. All right. And the last one listed for the Northeast is the Omo Oduduwa Institute. And the person in charge there is Anderson Patrick. And the location is Pitikaraku Branch Road, Santa Cruz, Old Road, Santa Cruz. All right. For the Northwest region, we have Africa House, and the person who's in charge there is Awo Ifaseun Aworeni, and it is located in Springbank Avenue, Cascade. All right. There is several of them listed for the Northwest. The other one is Olokun Sanya Awepeju with Baba Bandele, and is located at Coconut Drive, Mova, Jerningham Extension Road. All right. The other one is Adekida Group, and the person in charge there is Dara Ihili, otherwise known as Ifasayo. All right, and it is in Nuwaloville Avenue, Samo. All right, I think I've met this brother a couple of times. The other one in the Northwest is Mother Eileen Sam Memorial Egbe, and is the person in charge there is Ifa Wimimo Osubi Onakomaya Ogunbi, and the location is Sparrow Drive, Simeon Road, Piti Valley. All right. The last one with the Northwest is Ile Egbe Yamunja, and the person in charge there is Olomi Ifa, otherwise known as Iya Ayoka. All right. But again, if we're going by the correct titles, it should be Iya Lode Olomi Ifa. All right. For the Southeast, we have Ila, Ijuba, Bogbo, Orisha, Mimo, Onsa, and the person in charge is Yeye Ala Obatala. Ifayemi, Odukemi. All right, and the location of this shrine for Ile is Mantakul Road, Robert Village, Tableland. All right, we have another one in the Southeast, that is Ile Eniyawa, and the person in charge there is Ajebowale Samorin, and the location is Noha Road, Tableland. All right, ICIR Southwest is the Ifa Orisha community of Point Fortin, and the person in charge there is Baba Ifa Iwaliwa, and the location is Coconut Trace Extension, Point Fortin. We also have another one. This one is Tobago. That is our Olefin Ogunsola Irawo Ifa, right? And it is located at Montpelier, Scarborough, Tobago. All right, I mentioned earlier Ile Josin Otura Meji Awan Oshun, and the person in charge there is Yeye Araba Agbomola Olomi Tutu Ido Oshun Omo Taiwo Ogunlade. Right? I think the person who was elected also, that is the representative for the shrine, is Olowo Ajobun. All right, there are other shrines. For example, there is one in Matura by the Bedous. I don't know the name of the shrine, so forgive me. But there is a shrine in Matura. We also have, I mentioned Itapa in Woodbrook. right, where Oba Allah is the chief there. And we have in Simeon Road, we have Olowo Okila Masatunji, who is also a chief, by the way. So it should be Chief Olakila Masatunji or Oloye Orawale Oramfe Jakuta Shango of Ileife and Alatunche Ofun Ileife and Alatunche Ogun Agbaye. All right, and the name of the shrine, forgive me, is Egbe Onisi Eludumare, and it's in Simeon Road in Piti Valley. All right, so basically that's it for today's stream. All right, and I want to apologize. I'm apologizing to the Chief Diolowos, the Agbas, and for all those whose name I mispronounced, or for those who I did not mention. You are also very important, and forgive me, I just used the information that I had accessible. All right, and before I leave too, I want to issue an apology to all of the elders. All right, because humility is a very important aspect of a person's walk in the tradition, and the elders in our community plays a very, very important role in leading the tradition. And I want the elders to know, if I've ever said anything that you all consider to be offensive, please forgive me. All right, now with that in mind, my purpose, my destiny, what I am here to do is to try to produce unity. Sometimes there is the human emotional element, and then sometimes there is the matter of trying to be as truthful as you can, but yet with trying to use a bit of diplomacy. Sometimes my diplomacy goes out the door depending on what is the issue or the topic. But again, just before I leave, I'm going to emphasize on every opportunity for reconciliation. I will implore all the leaders of the shrines I mentioned, and I also want to address leaders also of the other groups that practice African tradition. I will implore all of the spiritual Baptists, the Shouter Baptists, and all the different people who actually could hear my voice, that they should make an effort to attend anything that would bring all practitioners of African tradition together in the island of Trinidad. All the lineages of the Ifa community come together. I want to pay respect to Iya Adiori, right, who was one of my peers for my first initiation, and she's also my spiritual mother. And I also want to pay respects to the St. Catherine of Alexandria Spiritual Baptist Church, to which I'm affiliated in some way. All right, Iya Adiori, I want to be thankful. I want to thank Oludumare for you and for the role that you have played in my life personally in assisting and guiding me. Right? I want to thank all the names I mentioned earlier. Agba Jamat, Iyalode, Ogunlade, all right, from Matura. I want to thank my Oloye, Ogumawale. I want to also thank my Oloye, Oba Allah. I want to thank my teacher and my Baba Ifa, Baba Awo Falokun, and all the people who have played any role in helping me develop. I want to mention also the names of a couple of Olowos who live in Nigeria, who I have had extended relationships with, who have provided for me a lot of teaching, a lot of encouragement, a lot of information, and in some cases when I needed stuff, I could have depended on them to ship it to me. The first one I want to extend my gratitude to is Olowo Ifayemi Ayinde of Oyo State. We have been communicating well over 6 years. I also want to thank Awo Ifakolade Adibeyo of Abikuta, Lagos. We've been communicating for over 4 years. I want to thank Oluwo Falolu Adisanya Awoyade of Ogun State, all right, who is from the lineage of that Awo Falokun Fatumbi came from, and therefore automatically will be from the same lineage as myself. I want to thank, last but not least, Olowo Ifasai Alabi of Ibadan, Oyo State, who I've also been communicating with for quite some time, right? Many of the things that I've been studying and a lot of things that have created confusion in my mind when I needed clarity, these are the 4 persons in Nigeria who I have communicated with for clarity. All right? So with that, I want to say Odabo and thank you all for coming in and viewing and listening and spending the time. All right? What I would like, hopefully, from the next stream is that persons would not just send comments and saying hi, but hopefully, even from today, you all could probably include questions below the live, and when I come back next Tuesday, I would attempt to address some of your questions. All right, again, I want to say thank you, and Odabo, be safe, take care, and may Olodumare continue to bless the lives of the members of the community, and may he also bless the lives of those who are interested in learning about Ifa and Orisa. Thank you and goodbye.